my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and I'm back. I'm back from my trip to Toronto, where I went to Fan Expo. And if you've watched, I recommend you watch the previous video that I filmed, where I showed the stuff that I'm bringing to the Fan Expo. So what I did was I brought a little bit of money and a lot of books. So I brought a big stack of books, and I showed that in the previous video. And basically, I traded a lot to get a lot. And the money that I had, actually, I didn't really use it to buy comics. Only one of the deals involved cash. I think I spent $100 on the books that I bought. But most of the money that I used was for the individual artists. So I got a lot of artist signings and bought their comics. I was trying to support the individual artists at this show. So I'm going to show some the books that I got from the artists, and I'm going to show the stuff that I traded and got. So it's a big haul. I got all this stuff. So 4 slabs, and I'm going to get right into the slabs actually first, because that's what I first did. I actually, when I walked right in, there was a there was a vendor, and one side of his thing, he had a whole bunch of keys. I was like, oh, that's, you know, Empire Strikes Back, the magazine. There's a few like cool keys, but on the other side he had Golden Age. And not only did he have Golden Age, but he had a very specific type of Golden Age. He had Canadian whites, which I was very interested in, and he had reasonable prices on them. So I'm going to show you. He had 2 Canadian whites that I picked up that were slabbed. So yeah, so this was the first. This is 3 Aces, number 52 from 1946. And if you're not familiar with the Canadian whites, what they are is, in Canada during the war, we weren't allowed to import US comics. So we had to make our own. And we had several companies. We had Bell Features, and this is AA Comics, which is American Anglo Comics. And we basically made our own comics for a while, and there, you know, it was a pretty big thing for a bit. And the quality though was really low. So many of these Canadian whites didn't survive, and they were called Canadian whites because often what they did was black and white interiors. So they'd be just, you know, white pages. So very interesting Canadian whites. This one's actually a reasonably high grade. It's 5.0. Which is really high for a Canadian white. And you can see that I would have paid $180 for it. That's Canadian, which translates to about $120 US, around that mark. So that was the price. I'm going to put that on the back. But yeah, so that was that one. And then I got another Canadian white from the same guy, same price too. Another 5.0, but this is a CBCS copy. Again, he wanted 180. That on the back. I like always keeping the pricing. And just another nice copy. Like, he was kind of putting these down in a way. He was saying, oh, nobody's interested in Westerns. And I'm like, oh, it's not the Westerns that I'm interested in. It's the fact that they're Canadian whites. It's part of Canadian history. So I was very excited to get both of these. And I had to trade a few books to get these. I forgot what I traded. I think I traded one of my Seduction Innocent books and a couple other things. I just traded a couple books. But I did buy one comic from him as well. So as I was going through this, and I was, you know, I was showing interest in Canadian whites, somebody else, I think one of his helpers, said, hey, we also have this comic, and we pulled out one more comic, and I have to get it out. One sec here. I gotta unbox my my haul here. And he had one more comic, which I thought was very interesting. Let's see if I can find it readily available here. Yeah, this one. There's one more, and it was this one, and it was $60. So another Canadian white. This is probably from this is a Bell Features. I said that's the other big one that produced a lot of Canadian whites. again, another Western. And it was $60 Canadian, which is about $40 US. I said, oh, well, would you take 40 like Canadian? And he said, no, I wouldn't. I was like, oh, okay. Because it's half off. So I got it for 30. I was like, okay, sure. So it's like about 20 bucks. So for, yeah, nice little one. It says Canadian edition has cover to number 9 by Atlas. So many of these were reprints of the American edition of the comics. So this is a two-gun Western. But I just thought it was cool. Not necessarily a big Western fan, but I do like to collect Canadian whites. I think they're interesting. So whenever I can find them for an affordable price, I think why not? Just a cool one. So I actually paid the 30 bucks for that cash. So that was, I spent a little bit of cash. So those were the first ones that I got. And then I ran into another Golden Age one. So I was kind of just walking around and I ran into another Golden Age one. And I was like, oh, that's a really nice book on the wall. He had a whole bunch of books, mostly modern, but then he had a couple Golden Age. I was like, oh, that one's kind of interesting. And it's a series that I collect, and it's Crime Mysteries. Now, if you look behind me, you can actually see another Crime Mysteries, the one with the strangulation cover. This is Crime Mysteries number 1. So you got the bad guy. He's kind of about to attack the girl who's bound to the chair, and you got the hero coming in through the window. A very almost Alex Schomburg-like situation. The hero's always too far or too away to do much good. But it isn't Alex Schomburg. But just a really cool cover. This is number 1 of the series, so I thought that was great. And it's a reasonable grade. I think he wanted $3.75 for it Canadian, which is actually not a bad price. But again, I traded a couple books. I think I traded another Soti book that I had a double of, paid $10 for it, so it wasn't like a big loss. And then I traded some more expensive book. I traded my Slave Girl number 1. It was a really beat up copy. Actually, I think it should have been a higher grade because I paid for a higher grade at Heritage. But when we opened it up, it was falling apart. So I would have graded it as a 1 or even a 0.5. So we traded those two books. He was kind of being nice, even though the grade was low on the Slave Girl. He was being nice about it. And so we traded those two books for this one. I was quite happy. So I traded books that I had doubles of and got one that I really like. This one's quite nice. So that was the next vendor. And actually there was only 3 vendors that I bought stuff from. The last one, and one of the things that I actually my focus actually was supposed to be Amazing Spider-Man number 122. That was the book I really wanted to get. I actually wanted to get a sort of a lower grade, like a 3 to 4 range, just because it would be affordable. So I was asking different vendors, and a lot of them didn't have the book for some reason. I don't know why. And then one vendor did have the book. He had a 6.5, which is a really nice presenting copy. His pricing was a little bit high though. You can see it's like $450. Now $450. Normally this book would sell for about $300 US. $300 US is around. I always have to do the math here in my head. Yeah, maybe around 420. Around maybe actually fairly close. So he had it at 450. Maybe it's worth about 420. So I think his price was a little high. Not too bad, but a little high on this. But you know, did I really want to spend that much money on it? I was debating. But I had the books to trade, so I had pretty much the remainder of the stack of comics I had, which had the first Catman in DC. It had my Satan number 1. It had my first Catwoman, Silver Age Catwoman. It had a bunch of books. Like, I had a pretty big stack. So I basically said, okay, I got this big stack and I just want 2 books from you. I wanted that one, the spider one, and this one. This is a really great one. This is another Canadian book. This is from Superior, who also were like a Canadian publisher, and they produced their own comics. And this one's just a really great one because you got this really great good girl cover, and she's kind of flaunting her butt a bit, and the guy is kind of checking her out. You can see he's like, oh. So it's kind of funny. It's a cute cover from Superior Comics, and it's Secret Romances number 12 from 1953. So this is a really great cover. And he wanted, for this one, he wanted it for $225. So the 2 of the books were $6.75 Canadian. And so I had my big stack. He didn't really, like, he thought the grades were a little bit low, which he was probably right. They were a bit low. It's all my extra copies. So so the grades were a little low. So then he said, okay, would you want, could you throw in an extra $140? I'm like, it's a bit much. I got him down to 120. Not much. I didn't really knock him down too much on it. But so I gave him all the stack and an extra 120 bucks. I thought it was a reasonable deal. It was, I think he won on the deal, but he has to win on the deal. He's a vendor. I'm a collector. There's always going to be that dynamic where the collector always has to give up a little bit to get some. I'm happy to get these 2 books and just get rid of my doubles. So I was quite happy with the deal. And actually, I interviewed the guy afterwards because he was like also very keen on Golden Age, and we talked a lot about Golden Age stuff. So you'll see his interview later in one of my Saturday videos, where basically I show an interview with him where we talk about Golden Age, and it was really funny actually. This is something that's not in the video, but it's funny when I'm doing an interview with this guy. And there was a couple other books that I was still interested in, maybe about 4 other books that I was interested in. One was a Planet comic, a couple were Miss Fury comics, and there was another one, I forgot what the book was. I just was like, oh, I really like that one. It was another kind of 4th book that I was interested in. And I'm saying this as I'm like talking to him and interviewing him, that he has all these cool books. And somebody was watching this interview that I'm doing with this guy, and he bought the books that I was talking about. So I was like, oh man, that's really annoying. So as I'm doing this, some other guy's buying the books that I'm recommending. So I just thought it was really funny. So it was a really cool convention for meeting these vendors. So those were the books that I bought, or actually traded for, I should say. And then I bought a bunch of books, as I said, which were just from the artists. So there was one artist named R.B. White, and actually and he signed it for me. And this is just a portfolio of his covers. It's like these sexy covers. He did Miss Meow, Vampirella, a whole bunch of titles, kind of sexier titles. And he did all the covers. So this is like a portfolio that he did. This is number 1. Actually, I should have bought both portfolios. He had it was 2 portfolios. I should have just bought them both. They were really nice. So that was one. And then I got this from a different artist. This is from Gizelle Legacy. I totally brutalized. She's French, so I'm brutalizing the pronunciation. But this is Veronica Sin. It's just a cool comic. I just thought it was a kind of sexy comic, and she signed it for me. And then I met with Dan Parent, and he had a special edition, Canadian edition, like of Die Kitty Die, which is his own comic. And this is number 1. And actually, I got a bunch of things from him. Actually, the funny thing is I should have gotten this one. This is another book that I got. This was one of those exclusives that you get. Like, it was the last one. So it has all the pricing on it. but this was the last exclusive of Betty and Veronica. So the Comic-Con exclusives. But I didn't get it signed. I didn't get a chance to get it signed. But I did get some more stuff from Dan Parent. One sec here. I'll just grab it all. So I got this really awesome Sabrina cover from him. You know, some good girl art cover. It's a Comic-Con exclusive. I'm not sure which Comic-Con. It's San Diego. San Diego exclusive. I thought that was great. And then I got another one, Josie, and he signed this one. Actually, I got a couple copies because I'm going to give one away. So this is kind of nice. Josie and the Pussycats. And then I saw this cover, which I missed out on, but he had an extra one. So this is just a really great one where they form a heart. And he did a beautiful remark for me of Archie in between them. I thought that was really nice. So he did that for me. And, you know, so I bought all those from him. And then I met Sweeney Boo. And this is her very first comic that she did for DC. And she signed it for me. So I got this from her. So I actually interviewed Sweeney Boo, and she was really, really nice. I was surprised how tiny she is. She's really short. It was really funny. So the first guy I interviewed at the convention, he was 6'8". Okay, so I'm only 5'7". So this guy is like towering over me. So we couldn't actually film it where there was just too much of a height discrepancy. So I had to stand on a chair. So I'm actually standing slightly taller than him. So I make him look a little short, but he's way taller than me. But in the interview, it looks like he's slightly shorter. This is kind of funny. But Sweeney Boo is the opposite way. I almost felt like she should stand on a chair because she was really tiny. Very nice woman. But yeah, this was her first comic that she did for DC. So I got her to sign that. That was really cool. And then I met another great artist, Ken Wheaton. And this is a book that he actually gave to me. There was a bunch of others that I bought from him. Like you can see, actually, it's a stack. I gotta individually bag them after this, but and he basically did this nice little Popeye remark. Let me zoom in, can show you. Isn't that great? So he was a really nice guy. He gave a really great interview as well. So that will be in a future episode. You'll see his interview. And he did a lot of the work for classic Popeye and for Archie as well. So just a really great artist. Recommend him. And then I met a Canadian artist who did this one. And this is Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And this is an retailer incentive variant. And supposedly this is the very first Canadian exclusive retailer incentive. So I thought that was interesting. And it's Lower Decks, basically. It looks like Lower Decks, but it's Strange New Worlds. And yeah, he signed it. That's his signature. So he was interesting. Yeah. And then I met with Bill Morrison, who I already interviewed. And I got this one, which he signed, I think. And I Dream of Genie. He signed it. I really like this one. Kind of cute. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Bruce Timm a bit. I don't know why, but very kind of Bruce Timmish. But I really like this one. It was a bit more expensive. I misread. I misread the red button. I don't know why. I thought it was only $5, but it was $50. So I was like, oh, oops. Oh well, more expensive than I thought. So yeah. So I didn't want to say, I didn't want to spend that much, but it's okay. I am supporting a great artist, and it's a great cover too. So yeah, I think it's probably worth it in the end. That's 50 Canadian, so it's maybe a little bit better. It's like about $30 US. And then I got a bunch of exclusives, like for the expo itself. These are like and this one's signed actually. This was the very last copy. I just snagged it. This is Batman Adventures Mad Love #1. It's the Toronto Comic Con exclusive, and it's signed. I'm not sure who signed it though. I don't know who signed it. I think it's I don't know. I don't know who signed that. If anyone can read that signature, please tell me who it is. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who signed it, to tell you the truth. But then I also got Spider Boys. This is Edge of Spider-Verse #3, which is the first origin story of Spider-Boy. So I thought that was cool. And that was the Toronto Comic Con variant edition. So exclusive. And I thought this one was really nice. This is a Daniel Cho cover. And another exclusive. Really, I go for my good girls. So, and one last comic that I got, so it's a pretty big haul, was another one, and this is from the guy that was super tall. He was like, as I said, 6'8", and his name is Loomsdom. So David was the guy's name. He did the lettering. He's a letterer, and he also does some art as well, but mainly lettering actually. But just a really interesting guy actually. It's really interesting talking to him. And this is Incredibel, or Invincible. Yeah, Incredibel. Yeah, Incredibel. They actually had it as Invincible originally, but they thought they would get sued by Kirkham, so they made it Incredibel. But you know, it's very Invincible plus maybe Incredibles. So just interesting. I thought it was kind of very Power Girl-like too. So for two obvious reasons. So yeah, just a really great book. I just thought it was fun. So those were the things that I picked up. So, and I met lots of great artists, and I did about 7 interviews, which took up most of the time actually. I didn't really get to explore the convention floor as much as I had wanted to, because I was doing interviews. Like even like the interviews were fairly short. They were 5 to 10 minutes long, but you know, setting that all up, it always takes so much longer. You know, I always had to go back and forth and, you know, work in their schedules, right? So yeah, it was a very interesting day. I was there from 10 in the morning all the way until 5 o'clock, and I was just running around the whole time. So it was a very fun fan expo. I recommend, if you're ever in Toronto around the time that they do Fan Expo, definitely go. Definitely check them out. I really did enjoy it. I brought my son and my brother-in-law with me, and I think they had fun in the end. So yeah, it was a good experience. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for more from the Toronto Comic Con, where I'm going to be playing the very first interview that I did on Saturday. So check out that. It should be great. And then every Saturday for the next 2 months, basically, I'm going to be showing interviews from the Comic Con, and there are some really great interviews. I actually was really impressed by how open and these people really you know, said a lot of stuff. That was really cool. So I think you'll enjoy the interviews. So stay tuned for that, and thanks again for watching. Bye for now.